when I became director in 2010, I told my staff, we're not going to spend more than we earn. I don't do that in my personal life. I'm not going to do it in my professional life. So we've lived within our means since 2010. As a result of that, if we only earn $52 million a year, we only spend $52 a year. So we put together a budget, a long-term budget, not a one-year budget, and we live within our means every year based upon how much revenue we generate. So that's allowed us to protect $60 million, 1 year's budget, in our reserve. And that's protected for a reason. Penn State Small Business School calls it our strategic strength when they put together a business plan for our agency, much like they would for a private business. Government typically doesn't do that, but most government agencies get a general appropriation. They don't have to live off of customer sales like we do as a special independent agency. So as a result of that, we've got $110 million in deferred infrastructure. So a lot of legislators feel that we need to spend that reserve down before they're going to entertain a fee increase. My argument is that I can spend it tomorrow because I've got twice as much to do with a backlog infrastructure. The trouble is I don't want to spend that down because that protects us and allows us to be able to survive into the future if we don't get a revenue increase. So that's the stalemate, whether we spend that down before we get the increase or whether we live off of that until we get the increase. Well, stocking's expensive. As you can imagine, raising and growing fish and stocking them is 25% of our total budget. So as a result, we were looking at program cuts across the agency, and the hatcheries, because of our infrastructure, we weren't able to cut as deeply in that program as we were in other programs, because if we did, we'd have to close facilities. You can only take so many people out of a hatchery and still be able to raise fish that we do at hatcheries. So as a result of that, the board, my board, I have a board of directors of 10, instructed me in September to cut $2 million from our budget to lower the burden, the draw on the reserve. So in order to do that, I needed to cut programs. And they gave me the ability to do it myself by either furloughing people or closing facilities. So I looked to see which our least efficient hatchery might be, and that was our Oswego State Fish Hatchery in Potter County. And when you look at saving money, you look at your least efficiencies, and that's what Oswego was. So by closing Oswego, that would eliminate 220,000 trout from our stocking program. We stock 3.2 million on average every year, so that would take us down to about 3 million statewide. So then the next decision was, where do those trout not get stocked? And it was my decision that I would use a variety of variables to decide where those locations would be. They were biological, social, economic, and the last was political. And the political variable is really what caught fire to this question. And that political variable really was intended by me to not punish legislators that supported what we were trying to do, because they recognized that we needed more revenue to try to get more people fishing in Pennsylvania. And by doing that, I shifted those cuts to districts that didn't support us. And the legislature took that as an insult. And I drew back, and the board drew back within 24 hours. And we said the map's off the table. It's no longer up for discussion. Tell us what you think we should do to be able to make the cuts to save expenses so that we can continue the operations based on the revenue that we get. To this day, I've never got one recommendation about what we should do. I've just got plenty of complaints about what we shouldn't do. So in my opinion, does the punishment fit the crime? Well, the crime really was we said we might do something that we never did, and we're not intending to follow through on that. And the punishment is setting a term limit for me through Senate Bill 935.